Welcome to the Goddard Report. Comments made on the Goddard Report and TalkDigitalNetwork.com are an expression of opinion only. Here is Jim Goddard.
My guest is Lindsay Meredith, professor at the Beatty School of Business at Simon Fraser University, marketing expert beyond none, I think, here in Western Canada. The big question I have for you, Lindsay, is right now in the Lower Mainland, there's a campaign to get people to vote for a 0.5% hike in the sales tax to pay for transit. And so far, the transit authorities have lined up something like $8 million to support the yes side. I haven't heard of any budget for the ones who want you to vote no. How hard of a sell is it to ask somebody to pay extra sales tax? Who votes for a tax anywhere?
Well, my friend, you just nailed it right between the eyes. You updated me. I had no idea they had just nailed down an extra $8 million for the ad campaign. This is going to be a tough sell for these guys. It's in marketing. They have watch out for their jargon. All it means, though, is they have something called negative attribution, and all that means is, if you're a bit of a bad dog, once I'll kind of forgive you. If you've got a few little misdemeanors against you, a few charges, they begin to stack up, and after a while, you begin to build what we call negative equity, if you will, or negative attributional equity. All that means is pretty soon you've got a bad brand reputation. Well, TransLink have done a masterful job of doing exactly that. So try to raise extra cash. Well, they're probably pushing up against a whack of consumers out there who got a fairly negative view of them and everything they represent, especially the way they spend money.
Well, they just said that they're getting rid of one CEO who they pay close to $500,000 a year, replacing him with another person for $500,000 a year, but they're not getting rid of the old one for over a year. They're going to keep him on. So they're spending almost $1 million, half of it on money for a guy they don't feel good about. How am I supposed to feel good about a company that is spending close to $1 million on just two people?
Yeah, well, this is where you start to get into the negative attribution stuff. So, on the service side, that's where they first begin to step on landmines. That's when you had SkyTrains breaking down. It turns out these guys were using floppy disk technology, which goes back to the dark ages. I guess they didn't have any money to upgrade or something. Then they run into problems. They try and introduce Compass Card, a fare access system. That failed. Then they run into situations where it turns out the CEO, as well as even the Standard Transit Police, turned out to be being paid some pretty impressive salaries. So you start coupling all that stuff together, and that negative attribution stuff begins to build. And then consumers start to say, the money we do give you, we don't like the way you're spending it. It kind of looks like you're squandering it. Well, $8 million ad campaigns, CEOs getting paid $500,000 a crack, and then you double up on them. Gee, it sure sounds like business as usual, doesn't it? Same old bad business as usual.
Well, $30 million a year roughly to pay for the transit police who appeared out of nowhere. I didn't see any big demand for it. And the thing is, you never see them on the buses running in the, I would say, the riskier parts of town where you would think you would want to have somebody with a gun riding with you.
Well, certainly there are issues with regard to the service distribution problem, and that's really where a lot of this stuff started in the beginning. It culminated to some degree when you had breakdowns on SkyTrain and people walking along the hot rail, and then TransLink gets mad at them because after a couple hours, these people are trying to get to a level of safety and away from the greenhouse gas effect inside the cars. Well, you know what? This is how you make a lot of enemies, and as I say, one bad offense, people might forgive you, but when you stack them up like this, you get a negative reaction. So here's the punchline, Jim. Even when you need a little cash for a legitimate project, now you're running up against the negative attributional equity, and people are saying, I don't trust you.
And how do we know that this 0.5% extra for the Lower Mainlanders to pay on their sales tax will actually go to transit? Government's notorious for saying we're going to use money for one project, and they end up spending it for something else.
Oh, gee, sounds like you've been around the gas tax too much, too, eh? Sure. The whole idea behind the original gasoline tax many eons ago was that money was going to be collected and used for highway, bridge, transportation maintenance. Well, we all know today that's simply a government grab bag in taxation. That money goes to general revenue, and they spend it every which way. CPP surplus in the pension account, same damn problem. So would there be a right to be suspicious? Yeah, in the case of Translate, again, some of the marketing strategies, and gosh, I teach this stuff, are kind of suspect. So you talk about we're going to swap out the CEO because, boy, we're turning over a new leaf. Doesn't it look a little disingenuous? This is done just kind of before a vote's going to start. We desperately need the money so that we can supply more service, but we got $8 million we can find for an ad campaign. We're going to take the 0.5%, and this part at least they did productively. We're going to spend it, basically, a lot of it's going to be spent out in Surrey where it's badly needed for a quick fix on bus transportation. A little suspicious that you start announcing that kind of targeting of the funding, again, and attaching it to the referendum. So this is the kind of stuff where if you got the negative attributional equity again, we're coming back to that. Now the consumer's suspicious of anything you do. So they're thinking the CEO swap out, we're going to spend the 0.5% on bus transportation for Surrey. You know what? This kind of looks like some pretty less than subtle ways of trying to tilt the table, if you will, to get the yes vote, especially with the $8 million add-on for the advertising budget. And that's certainly not going to help them in this situation, because remember, these are the guys who are saying, well, hey, we're flat butt broke, we need the money. Oh yeah, but you got $8 million for an ad campaign.
Well, yes, and another thing that I'm sure has a lot of bus riders upset, including myself, is the transfers from the bus won't be usable at the SkyTrain stations when the Compass system comes in. So I would have to pay twice for the same ride. Somehow they don't have the money to fix that, but they do have the money for this campaign.
Yeah. We're back to negative attribution. What do you mean when the Compass system comes in? Don't you mean if it's going to come in? These guys already tried once and screwed it up. This is technology that was probably worldwide, and these guys couldn't make it work. Give me a break.
Well, the company apparently that put in Compass has had problems where they've already put it in. So they didn't have a good reputation coming in. Why did they pick this particular system? Why didn't they go with the Oyster card they use in London? They seem to work there.
Well, as I say, a whole bunch of people world round seem to have figured out how to make this system work. I've traveled the mass transit system in Vienna extensively. The thing works the way it's supposed to. No problem with cards. They work when they're supposed to on various kinds of mass transit. Yes, one card takes you everywhere, whether that's subways, streetcars, buses, light rail, rapid, you name it. The thing works seamlessly. And these guys can't even seem to get you across town without screwing it up.
Plus, I think the Vancouver transit system is the most expensive in Canada by far. Other cities try to lower transit prices to encourage more people to get on. Here, they seem to hike it all the time. For me to go 2 zones, downtown and back to Burnaby, $8. Well,
Good
if
Lord.
you have a car available, I can drive downtown and back, park for an hour for less than $8.
Yep. If Uber ever comes along and gets a foothold, not only will the taxi cab drivers be up the creek, our friends at Transit are going to suffer as well. These are the kinds of things where, I teach my students something very basic, Jim. P times Q is total revenue. Not quite the truth in accounting terms, but you'll remember it this way. Price times quantity means the amount of money you collect, total revenue. Now, you can sell a lot for a little or a little for a lot. High price, very few riders, or lower price and tons of riders. Doesn't matter. The finance on the other side of the equation of total revenue is what basically counts. When you're running really, really high fare prices, what you're going to do is, you're going to put a bullet hole in ridership. Well, hold it. This whole issue about mass transit for Vancouver is all about providing large scale levels of ridership at a reasonable price. And if you don't have the reasonable price, you're going to have an issue with the riders. And if you have fewer riders, that means you're going to jack your price more to try and collect the money. Well, you can see where this goes in a circle.
Yeah, I mean, they weren't surprised to see ridership go down with the last fare hike, but they thought usually it takes about a year to recover that ridership. It's taken years to recover the ridership.
Well, I mean, we're back to a fundamental problem. Hey, this is reminiscent of expanding the issue here a little, but the whole problem with tolls on the Port Mann Bridge is a similar kind of a hot button. $6 on a return trip for somebody who lives the wrong side of that bridge in the valley every day. You are talking about a substantial hit in the pocketbook. Well, guess what? the bridge is missing their revenue expectations for the year.
We'll have more with SFU Professor Lindsay Meredith when the Goddard Report continues right after this.
More and more people are looking to the internet for intelligent, riveting, and thought-provoking interviews. To advertise on the Goddard Report and TalkDigitalNetwork.com, call 604-699-8600, 604-699-8600.
In Goddard we trust.
Welcome back to the Goddard Report. We're talking to Simon Fraser University marketing professor Lindsay Meredith. What about the mistakes with their tolling on the Port Mann Bridge? I was charged for crossing that bridge 3 times in one day when I went across it once.
Oh, Lord.
And I asked for a refund, and they said, we'll give you a break the next time you go across. We'll deduct it from your next bill. What if I never cross that bridge again?
Yeah, be still my heart, eh? For context, if you will, take that very situation you've outlined, drop it into a raised retail store. We charged it too much for the product. Oh, give your money back? Oh, heck no. You just come back and spend more money later on, and we'll call it square. Would it work selling over at Walmart? I don't think so.
Well, I seem to think that they think we're dumb. And also, too, if there's some other project in the province, a highway improvement or whatever, everybody in the province pays for it. They say one of the reasons they want to improve transit and get more people, riding transit and reducing the congestion in the city is that it costs us billions of dollars in commerce. Well, then doesn't that mean Ottawa should be kicking in things, considering how much money Canada depends on our ports? Don't forget with the last railway strike, that lasted a whole day when they threatened to legislate everybody back. They said, why? Because it was going to cost the country hundreds of millions of dollars. Well, how about Ottawa kicking in a little bit of money here instead of asking us to pay higher taxes?
Well, I mean, these are the kinds of lightning rods that crop up. The thing I point out to people is in Canadian history, never higher. The consumer debt level for middle-class taxpayers is at a rocket altitude. It is just way too high to be safe. Well, I've got news. The consumers at the middle-class level are tapped out. Anybody who wants to tax them more, be it federal, be it just a 0.5% sales tax, be it jacking up your hydro rates, you name it, your ICBC, all of these will get a lightning bolt reaction from consumers because basically they are very, very badly stretched right now. And so they're going to react stressfully to anybody who comes knocking on the door trying to shake more money out of them. And I think, to square this whole issue back, I think our friends at Transit are getting very nervous about this referendum because I think probably through their polling, and they will tell us, of course, I suspect they're finding out that they have a substantial no vote that could build up out there. And this time, it could realize for one extra reason, and that is we've created a mail-in ballot. You don't have to take the time to go find the polling place on the magic day and go cast your vote. You simply can fire it back into the mail, and you know what? I think that could unleash a very much larger no-vote reaction, because a lot of those no-voters often just kind of, hold their nose and stay quiet. It's a little easier to vote this time. This could elicit the kind of result TransLink do not want to see.
I haven't heard anybody from the provincial government say what they favor, but this is a provincial government in its just released budget that gave a tax break to the richest 2% of people in BC, whereas the rest of the population was given a hike in their medical service premiums. Now how does this sales tax hike make it fair?
Well, basically what the provincial government's doing, it's had this strategy for some time. Its whole positioning, we call it in marketing, is one of, quote, not going to harass the middle-class taxpayer. In other words, not elicit a backlash because we jacked your personal income tax. So what we're going to do is create a lot of crown or quasi-crown corporations or private corporations. We're going to spin them off. Now, when we spin them off and they take their charges and go ballistic, so I'm talking BC Ferries, Hydro, ICBC, TransLink. Well, it's not us folks in the government. We're innocent. Go deal with those nasty guys in those private corporations. So I think they feel like they found a way to deflect the negative reaction. Well, you know what? They're not getting themselves far enough away from the train wreck here. Some of this is going to rub off on them as well. I think people are beginning to see this strategy of, hey, you guys just hand this off to private corporations and let them jack the rates up, and then you claim nothing is happening in terms of pressure on the taxpayer. Well, I got news. People are figuring this one out.
And also, TransLink used to hold public meetings where Joe Blow and Mrs. Smith could get up and have their 5 minutes to say, I'd like to see more transit here, or you're wasting money there, or here's a suggestion on how you could be more efficient. Now it's a secret operation. The mayors are allowed to vote on the budget. That's it. And so the public has no say in what happens. We don't know what they're going to do next or why they're going to do it. It's now run in secret.
Yeah, well, I mean, a classic example for why you want to keep this under wraps is the let me put this as delicately as I can, the raving fiasco called the Evergreen Line. This mess on Clark Road Hill is going to make substantial delays in delivery time as well as in pricing. They're running into problems with underground aquifers. They're running into problems with the drilling, which was supposed to have given them a good idea what the tunneling machine was going to hit. Apparently didn't find a whole bunch of stuff that is now causing major problems on the crest of the hill there. So, you know, all of that engineering work done in the beginning by guess who? I believe the major engineer was FNC Lavalin. Hey, there's a good name. A lot of that work now looks like the tunneling machine is going to be in major cost overrun problems. And again, you know, I gather now we're spinning off a new corporation which is going to embody Evergreen Line and a few other of these major projects. You know, again, what are we doing? We're shifting the structure. Who's responsible here in the end? Is it the government? Is it TransLink or not?
And their record for telling the truth. Don't forget when they built the Canada line up Cambie, it was supposed to be bored up the hill so that the businesses wouldn't be disrupted. Well, all of a sudden at the last second, it became cut and cover. Those businesses, many went bankrupt. And the stations, by the way, that they did build are so far apart. In no way do they help the businesses on Cambie.
Well, this is the classic problem with Evergreen Line as well. So at Sutterbrook Mall at one end, anchoring point on the lawn, and Coquitlam Mall, you have some stations. Then there's nothing basically between there and, finally a place called Coquitlam Mall, which is getting very close to Lougheed Mall. So that vast area of, suburbia in between, no dice.
So in all, this is going to be an uphill climb, perhaps. I don't know what the polls are saying right now, but as a transit user myself, I don't see any benefit from this higher tax.
Well, the problem here, as I say, is because of that collective negative attribution, both on service as well as perceived squandering of cash. Even if you have money that looks like it could be spent on a realistic project, now you're trying to overcome the negative attitude that consumers have toward you. And it doesn't matter if you're a good guy and you do one thing nice, you still got all that bad baggage that comes with your reputation. And you know what? It takes a long time to dig a hole that deep. It takes a long time to climb out of it too.
Well, it'd be nice if they'd use that hole to build a decent transit system.
I think even a lot of people would agree, but the way it's sounding from you and a lot of other people, it just might be used to bury them.
I'm just echoing what my neighbors tell me. Really, I mean, from their experience, a lot of senior citizens, a lot of people on fixed incomes, they don't have extra money to pay on a sales tax. They'd like to see some decent service for what they pay now.
Well, that becomes a real issue, and people who are back to the wall on their expenditures don't want to see somebody coming after them for yet again more money, especially if they perceive the money they've already handed over hasn't been spent very wisely. You know, those two things in combination, you know, if you will, view it this way, as we're talking about a private product, a product that's kind of shoddy, doesn't work very well half the time, and oh yeah, it looks like it's really overpriced as well. You know what? That's a combination for a major bullet if you're a marketer.
Lindsay, thank you very much for chatting with us.
Always a pleasure, Jim.
My guest has been Lindsay Meredith, professor at the Beatty School of Business at Simon Fraser University.
Take care, Jim.
You've been listening to the Goddard Report on TalkDigitalNetwork.com. Find us on Twitter at TalkDigitalNet. Our popular YouTube channel is Talk Digital Network. Comments about the show can be sent to info@HowStreet.com. I'm Jim Goddard.
Comments made on the Goddard Report and TalkDigitalNetwork.com are an expression of opinion only. The Goddard Report is available online and mobile at TalkDigitalNetwork.com. The Goddard Report is a production of Howe Street Media Incorporated.